Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday, the 25th of February 2018. I'm recording this for the second time, and now that I'm recording it again, starting again, I have brought my friend and helper, Mr. Coffee. So let's hope that this time it'll go better. So if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for giving this podcast a try. And if you're coming back, thank you ever so much for putting up with the crazy. I noticed that quite a few new people have recently subscribed. We are almost at 3,000 subscribers, which is insane. So thank you so much to all of you guys. And maybe I should do a very, very quick introduction again for those of you who haven't watched it in the past. So as I said, my name is Julia. I have done this podcast for about 2.5 years now. I started it back when I was still studying at uni. I was studying psychology, doing my master's, which those of you who watched that time when I was doing my thesis know how frustrating that was. Anyways, that is all behind me now. Back then we were living in Würzburg. Now we are living in Munich. We have lived here for about 1.5 years now. And by we, I mean my lovely, very, very knit-worthy boyfriend Kai and I. Now we are also both working full-time, which is definitely affecting my knitting, but it's not a bad thing. It enables me to buy all the yarn, for one. And yeah, talking about my knitting journey, I have a separate video for that, but the quick idea is that I used to knit as a child, then forgot. Then when everyone in Germany at least was crazy about those crocheted Malbushi hats, I did that, got bored after 3 hats, and randomly decided I want to knit socks, and that's what I did for a very long time. And then everything else in terms of garments and shawls and anything like that just followed, and now I am obsessively knitting all the time. I do also spin. I have a Woolmaker's Bliss single treadle yarn wheel, which I love. And I have tried to sew, but my sewing machine is currently living in the basement because I hate sewing. So I love all the sewn things. I love people who sew me things, but I don't know. I love fabrics. I love the idea of sewing, but I don't actually love sewing, so that's that. So anyways, I think that's enough of an introduction for today. Today I'll talk about some group things, then finished objects, works in progress, a ton of yarn that has arrived in terms of gifts, giveaways, and also the yarn that I got at the festival yesterday. And I also have some content about the way I store my yarn, so we'll just do that depending on how much time I have and how this podcast goes. So, first of all, we have a group on Ravelry, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group. And that is where you can find all the knit-alongs, giveaways, introduction threads, chatter threads, whatever you want. So I would love for you guys to join in there. And at the moment we are running the Hearts and Heels cow, which is a knit-along for Valentine's themed socks. So you can either use a Valentine's Day themed yarn, you can use a pink or purple yarn, or you can use a Valentine's or love themed pattern. The original deadline is the March 14th. I'm not sure, you guys, do you want me to extend it? I have opened a finished objects thread, but not that many people have finished or entered their objects. So let me know if you want me to extend it until the end of March. I'm happy either way. And as a prize, I will be giving away a bag by Lamy Project Bags. This is mine, which is probably my favorite bag at the moment, and you will receive a very similar one. So that is that. Also, you can find me on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast, although I do tend to go quiet during the week. The busier I get, the less I post, but that is the place to go if you want like current life updates and see what's going on. So that was a lot of talking and very, very, very little knitting. So let's just jump into finished objects. I don't know, today is not my podcasting day, you guys. So first of all, I finished a pair of socks finally. I finished my artsy fartsy socks, or Grace's artsy fartsy socks, because I didn't like the way this colorway ended up, but she loved it. So this will be a pair of gift socks going across the ocean very soon. I have to. The yarn is by Ätherische Öle und Meer. I'm very, very sorry I don't have the tag. But if you don't find it, let me know. I'll send you in the right direction. They're a small German indie dyer, and I usually just pick up a couple of skeins when I see them once a year at Vaterstetten, which is a local yarn festival here. It is a 75-25 wool nylon blend. It is not super soft, but it's fun colors, so yeah. I'm doing that thing where I talk and I get out of breath for no reason. Oh my gosh. I'm so out of it, you guys. The week that I've had, I'm not really surprised. Yeah, so vanilla socks. I did afterthought heels for these ones because I was knitting the first one at the movie and I was about done here when I finished the movie, so yeah, cut in heels. And besides that, just a very plain basic vanilla sock. And like I said, very, very happy to have these done. My second finished object, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm even more happy to have this one done. You might remember this beast. This is the Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore, and you might also remember the tragedy behind this one. It's a beautiful pattern, it's beautiful yarn, there's nothing wrong with it, but I was so sick of this thing. I think I spent 3 days just monogamously knitting on this thing to have it done, because I was just so sick of it. But the result is very, very pretty. So it is a asymmetric 2-color shawl, although there's also a 3-color version. And this is what it looks like. So you may see there's a lot of one color at the end here. And the reason behind that is that I ran out of yarn. I'm not really sure why, because honestly I used a smaller needle size. I went down to 3.5 millimeter US size 4. And I have the right yardage, so I really shouldn't have had problems with running out of yarn. And that always kind of bugs me. But I had enough of the second color to make it work, so I just knit garter stitch in the end. And I also took out 4 rows because I didn't want to run out of the second color as well. So if you are knitting this, make sure you have enough yarn. Or maybe wait every now and then, because you really don't want to be running out. It's a bit of a pain. Besides that, it is all blocked and beautiful, and I really like it, and I can't wait to wear it as soon as it gets a little bit warmer, because at the moment in Germany it is so freezing, you guys. And a fingering weight shawl just isn't warm enough. But there will definitely come a time when this will be really, really useful, and I do think it's very pretty. So, that is my finished objects for this week. In terms of works in progress, you might remember my Damiaka Lupa sweater. I'm not going to be showing this today because I didn't have time to work on it. I picked it up last night because I was feeling really bad about not working on it, but it wasn't really clicking, and it's just so much stuck in it, you guys. Not sure. So anyways, all I have to show you this week are socks. So I'll start with my knit along socks, which are the Valentine socks. Living in a pink bag. I never use a needle cozy for these, and then with this bag, because it's quite thin, it doesn't have like a lining or anything, I always poke myself. Why don't I just use a needle cozy? I'm not sure. Anyways, in here are my Valentine socks that I cast on for the Hearts and Heels Cal, and my first sock is done. And I am about 2/3 done with the second sock as well. So the yarn that I'm using for this is Nicole C. Mendes yarn. The colorway is, what's the colorway name? I'm showing you this card, but it's the wrong card. So this one says Poppy. I think it's called Love is in the Air. Yeah, that's it. Love is in the Air by Nicole C. Mendes. And as you can see, I did an afterthought heel with this one, and the yarn that I used for that is a Regia Anne and Carlos leftover that I had, and I just thought that complemented the pastel colors really nicely. And I need to put in the second heel on the second sock. I haven't done that yet. That's where it has to go. And I really like these colors. In the beginning I wasn't really too sure about it because the stripes are not that distinct, and they're also quite tonal. But now I actually really like it. I think it's a really unusual colorway, and it's really, really fun. So very happy with these. With this yarn, I always tend to give it as gifts. I never keep them. So this one I'm definitely keeping for myself, and I'm very excited to have a strappy pair in my sock collection. For all of my socks, I'm using US size 1 or 2.25 millimeter needles, and usually 64 stitches in case I forget to mention that. So that is that. And yes, I will put a needle cozy on this later. I say that now. I can already see myself poking myself again. But I guess if I don't learn, I'll just poke myself. So in this adorable alpaca bag, I at least think it's alpacas, or is it llamas? I never can tell. In here I have a whip that I didn't show you for quite a while. And these are my MCN Hermione's Everyday Socks, which is a pattern by Erica Luder that everyone and their grandmother has knitted by now. It's a free pattern. I keep coming back to it because it's just a really fun, pretty easy pattern. The yarn I'm using is Viking Yarns. It's my first time knitting with a yarn. It's an MCN blend, Merino Cashmere Nylon. The colorway is called Precious Metal. And you guys, I'm ready for the toe for the first sock. I'm so happy to have picked this up again. This fell by the wayside really, really badly because at the moment I just don't have enough time to work on all my whips. But I have picked it up again yesterday. During the day I was at home, and I knit from the heel down to where I have to start the toes, so this first sock at least will be knitted today. Really, really excited about it. I think the colors and the way that they're pulling is really pretty. And I don't really mind having whips that I don't work on all the time, but I like to at least have the first sock done, because then it seems a lot less daunting to just pick it up and finish a second sock, because really finishing a sock doesn't take me that long. I just actually need to sit down and do it. So yeah, really happy with this yarn. It's very, very soft, as it's supposed to be as an MCN yarn, and I do really, really like it. So that is my second work in progress in terms of socks. And I was really, really excited to have gotten my whip count down a little bit. And what did I do last night? Of course, I cast on a new pair of socks. And you guys, you should have seen me. I took out all of my stash. I had like skeins upon skeins lying around in my craft room / office, which is this room. And all of that just for one pair of socks. It's kind of ridiculous. But I have picked a pair in the end. Coffee is so good. And it is still living in my Lamy project bag. I keep talking about this, but seriously, you guys, this is my absolute favorite project bag at the moment. It's just a big bucket, and it's just amazing for working and knitting at home. So in here I have my socks that I decided to cast on. And this is some yarn by Skibot Garne, who I used to talk about a lot in the past because I really love their yarn. But then kind of haven't knit with it for a while, which is really, really sad. So this is Nadine's yarn in the Broken Hearts colorway. So it even goes with the Hearts and Heels knit along, which is great. I was going to do a pattern, but then Kai and I ended up watching Stephen King's It. So I was sidetracked. So I did vanilla socks. So, and you can see how different do these two socks look. Isn't that funny? I am knitting 2 at a time, obviously, and I'm knitting from different ends of the skein. And you can just see how sometimes color distribution can be so different across one skein. So this sock is very, very light, whereas this one is very, very dark and very heavily red speckled. But I do think these are really, really fun, and you know how much I love Skibot Garne yarn. I should really get some more. I haven't ordered from her in ages. So yeah, really happy with these. I love knitting 2 at a time socks. I just never do it, which is stupid. So I'm very happy about these, and I'm actually really excited to knit on these some more today. So that is it for my works in progress, and I will be right back with yarn storage talk and acquisitions. So I'm back with a bit of a delay because my camera is just giving me a heartache today. Before I talk about my yarn storage and acquisitions, I realized I didn't ever tell you what I'm actually wearing today. And I am wearing one of my favorite garments that I've knit recently. This is the Ombre cardigan. It's a French design, I believe. I will not go into the design because I didn't think the pattern was written very, very well, at least not the English translation. But I did modify the crap out of this, and what happened in the end was a super, super wearable, amazing garment. This is probably one of my best fitting garments that I've knit, and I wear it all the time because the color just goes with everything, and it is really quite warm because it is a DK weight cardigan, and it's just perfect. I just love this thing to death, and I wear it all the time. The yarn that I used for this was John Arbon Textiles Knit by Numbers, their DK weight. And I will say, after wearing it for like a day, this thing peels like nobody's business. But, I mean, it is a very soft yarn. What can you expect? Again, I wouldn't really blame the maker for that, because that is just the yarn choice that I made. But it is super, super, super duper pilly, so I don't actually wear this for work or anything anymore, because I just don't feel comfortable with that. Having said that, I should probably clean it, and that might help a little bit. But I just don't mind that it is pilly, because I just wear it because I love it, and yeah. So that is my cardigan. So now moving on, I just really wanted to quickly talk about yarn storage. So how do you guys store your yarn? How do you manage your stash in terms of keeping it clean, keeping it away from any sort of little creepers, keeping it from fading? I'm really interested in that topic. Some of you might remember the massive moth problem of 2016. It was the worst thing ever. Seriously, you guys, we had moths, and I never found any in my yarn. I doubt that it was even the yarn-eating kind. But having a ton of moths in your apartment, seriously, it was so much trouble, so much stress. I hated it. So that is when I started to be really, really careful with my yarn. Although these days I tend to sometimes not be as careful anymore, and I don't really like that. But anyways, I know that lots of people, even yarn stores, have the yarn all in the open, but I don't. First of all, you get moths or other little creepy animals, or you can at least. Secondly, the yarn at some point, you know, you can get dusty and possibly dirty, and some yarn will fade if it's in the direct light. So what I do is I keep all of my yarn pretty much safe under wraps. You can see my stash right, ooh, this is hard. Now I know why all the podcasters have difficulties. Right there is my stash. And almost all of my skeins, like single skeins or small sweater quantities, I have in these bags. I think these are the 8-liter bags, I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure it is. I have a couple of different brands, but they all have like the ziplock at the top. So you can just open them and close them very easily. What I do is I usually press out some of the excess air, and then you can store them really nicely, and one bag typically fits 4 skeins of yarn. Sometimes I put 5, and that way the yarn stays very, very clean, and it's also easy to get to, because I used to have like big tubs, but then you kind of forget what you have, and I actually take out my yarn quite a lot when I'm looking for skeins or picking colors, so this is the easiest way. What I had troubles with lately is because I've been buying more sweater quantities. Sometimes, especially if you buy like big quantities, if you buy DK or worsted weight yarn, you would need like 1,000 bags. I have a sweaters quantity of lead lopi, and I have I think 4 bags, and it just gets very, very impractical. So the idea that I had, which is not a genius idea at all, I don't know why it took me that long to figure that out, but we have these Ikea clips. I'm sure you can get them somewhere else as well, but we always get these at Ikea. And then what I do is I just take a big see-through plastic bag, because I like to see my yarn, and put one of those on, and again, it is super safe, nothing will get in this. And I'm showing you this bag with my Holz yarn, because with this one it was super, super practical, because I kept on pulling out colors and needing single skeins, and you can just get them very, very easily. But still, it is super safe. So that is how I am storing my yarn at the moment, although as you can see, this is what 90% of my yarn looks like, and this is what the rest looks like. But I'd be really, really curious what you guys do. I realize this is not a genius system, but it works, so that is my system. Also, do you sort your yarn by weight, by color, by dye? What do you do? What I typically do is I First of all, I sort by yarn that I want to use for socks, which is my entire top shelf up here. And then I have a couple of bags for yarn that is most likely becoming a shawl, my singles yarn, then my decay weight yarn, and then I have an extra stash for Kai's yarn, and an extra stash for sweater quantities. Within those sort of lines, sometimes I sort my yarn by color, so very clearly pink. I also will always put yarn from the same dye together because I like to use same yarn bases sometimes if I'm using more than one color at a time. And I have noticed that unconsciously I've been putting like German dye and yarns in one bag and UK yarns in one bag, so apparently I do that too, but I don't do that super consciously, and I am kind of organized but not super organized, so yeah, that is how I do it. I would really be interested in your guys' strategy. Just let me know. Yeah, so with that out of the way, and yarn everywhere, I have some acquisitions to talk about. And I'm going to, where am I going to start? Let me see. I'm going to start with the things that I was kindly given by some lovely people. So first of all, quite a while ago, you might know Louise, who is Miss Mothballs, and she used to dye yarn as Miss Mothballs. I'm not sure if she still does, to be honest. Sorry, Louise. But she used to have an Etsy store, and anyways, she was searching for a very specific Regia yarn, I think before Christmas. And I had it in my stash, so I was like, yeah, I'll just send it to you, that's fine. And she really wanted to send me something in return, and I really didn't expect that or ask for that, but look what showed up, you guys. She sent me the cutest package. And first of all, she sent me some amazing minis. I love minis, as you know. So these will go into my blanket. I especially love this super bright lime green mini, but I love all of these. They're really pretty. Lots of purples and greens, which is great. I love these. And then, you guys, I did not expect that at all, but she sent me a sock blank. I twisted it up because that's what I like to do with sock blanks, to store them. But she dyed this herself, and seriously, I love this so much. This is such beautiful colors. She sent me this colorway because the yarn I sent her, she used for her boyfriend's socks. So she thought that maybe Kai would like these colors and I could knit him a pair of socks. I'm not sure if I do that, or maybe I keep it for myself because I am selfish, and Kai is not always a fan of sock blanks for some reason, which I don't get, but oh well. But anyways, that arrived, and that is super pretty and exciting, and I love knitting from sock blanks. So I love this. Yeah, now I untwisted it, so I can just show you anyways. So this is what it looks like. So that is what I got from Louise. Next up, I got another amazing package from lovely Erin, who has the Holland Handmade yarn shop, and I think is most famous for her Holland Handmade podcast, which I used to watch ages ago already. I think she took a bit of a break, but she's back now. And she has started a yarn dyeing business, and I feel like I'm out of focus. So she sent me a huge amount of yarn and said just keep whatever you want and use the rest for giveaways. So first of all, sorry for the crinkling. She sent 2 mini skein sets. Aren't these just so pretty? So this one is a rainbow set, which I love. And this one is a more sort of tonal yarn set. And that would go really well in my blanket. So maybe I'll snag this one, I'm not quite sure yet. But these are just so fun, and they'll make great prizes as well. And then Erin also sent 2 full skeins of Marina Nylon. So this is her logo. Holland Handmade Co. And both of these yarns that she sent me are 115 grams, so they're quite generous skeins. And they're 415 meters. So she sent me this one, which is so beautiful. Can you see all the different speckles in here? Like the dyeing in this is just really great. And she also sent a pink or purplish one, which I also really, really love. These are both the same base. The base feels really soft. I can only imagine this would be great for a garment as well. I would love to have a cardigan or something out of this yarn. I think it would last forever. So yeah, I really, really like this. I also like that this one has, not sure if you can tell, but it has like green speckles in the purple, which I think is really pretty. So I'm going to do a very untypical thing, and I'm most likely going to give away the purple one and keep the blue one. That never happens, right? But I just really like this, and I don't have like any yarn like this in my stash. So anyways, we'll see about that. But Erin, thank you so much. I can really only recommend her yarn. And I'm not saying this because someone tells me to, but I really, really like this. So you will see some of this in future giveaways. I haven't really made a plan yet, but you will see it again. And thank you so much, Erin. And if that wasn't enough, yesterday, like I mentioned a million times now, I went to a yarn and crafts and arts festival, I suppose. It is called the Kreativmesse. So it's not specifically a yarn show, but I knew that they had some yarn dyers there as well. And I actually wanted to go last year, but that didn't happen. And then I was going to go this year, and then my friend who I was going to go with got sick, and I had been feeling a bit under the weather as well, so I was really torn whether I was even going to go. But then yesterday I just decided, well, I'll just go for a little bit. I was really only going for one specific yarn dyer, so I went to the yarn festival. And before I show you the yarn, I am very sorry to say, but I didn't really like it. I didn't really like the festival. I've been to a couple of festivals like that are not necessarily just for yarn, but for like a different types of crafts. Specifically, I went to the handmade fair in Würzburg, and I really liked that, whereas this one, I didn't really like the location. And I was really surprised by that because I actually was an exhibitor at the same location for a completely different fair related to HR topics about half a year ago. And I really quite liked it there, but this time it was just super crowded. You had to pay a fee just to get in, which for these kind of events, I don't really love doing that. And I don't want to say it felt cheap, but a lot of things, it was just crowded and the ambience really wasn't that great. That is just my opinion, but I really didn't like it, and I felt myself getting kind of, it just was way too much for me. But anyways, like I said, went mainly because I really wanted to see one dyer, and that dyer is Tausendschön. And it's really funny, Tausendschön yarn, which is a German indie-dyed yarn, in case you didn't guess already. I think this was the first indie-dyed yarn that I ever used when I got into knitting. So I have some really, really old pairs of socks out of this yarn, and they have held up really well, and this dyer, of course, has a bit of a special place in my heart. Although, since I started knitting, I have barely ordered from them, which is really, really sad. So I went there with the intention of just going to their booth and picking up a couple of skeins, and yeah, I did. It was a really, really crowded booth, but they had beautiful yarns, and I spent quite a bit of time there. I even met the dyer, and it was really, really nice. So first of all, whenever I go to like yarn festivals, I pick up a skein or two for Kai. So this is the skein that I picked up for him. This is the Widder colorway, which is one of their astronomical sign colorways. I think they have one for every sign. He's not a Widder. I don't know the English word off the top of my head, sorry. But anyways, I just really like the colors, and I thought it was a fun mix of like this rusty orange, and I really like this color down here, and yeah, he liked them as well, so I'm really happy about that. And yeah, all of these are just a basic sock yarn. They're just 75-25 virgin wool and nylon. So this is what I got for him. And then they had a rack of just speckles, and oh my gosh, you guys, they were so fun. So I picked up 3, and these all have just numbers, so I'm assuming they're one of a kind. But I picked this one. I also picked this one. I'm very much into the blues at the moment, in case you can't tell. I'm really, really liking these sort of like turquoise blues. And yeah, I really like it together with this orange that's coming on through here. And I also picked this one. There were some really Barbie pink, neon pink ones, and I resisted, but it was really hard to resist. But yeah, I picked these up. All of these, actually all of the yarn that I found there was very affordable as well, which is an advantage of German sock yarn. But yeah, really like these, and that made the entire thing worth it. They also, this booth, they also sold Malabrigo. And oh my gosh, you guys, I really want a sweater out of a Malabrigo sock. But that wasn't really what I had planned budget-wise. So I picked up one skein. This was the last skein that they had in their Aniversario colorway, which was their anniversary colorway, and I've been wanting this for ages. But I don't really like ordering this yarn online because their batches just turn out so differently, so you never really know what you get. But I just really like this, and so I picked it up. I'm not sure what this is going to become. I'm thinking maybe I'll knit a sock hat out of this because I just really like the colors. It doesn't have any nylon. I don't necessarily want it to be socks, but I really, really need a sweater out of this yarn sometime in the future. But we'll see how it goes. This time it wasn't meant to be. So that's what I picked up from there. And then I was pretty much done, and I just walked around once to see what else was there. And I picked up 2 more skeins. First off, I picked a skein of Drachenwolle. Drachenwolle is another German indie dyer. They weren't actually there, but a few people sold their yarn. And I've never seen this colorway before. It is very pink, it is very me. It doesn't have a colorway name again. But Drachenwolle is another one of those indie dyers that I used very, very much in the beginning of my knitting. And I have a pair of Hermione's Everyday socks in this yarn. And I still wear them so much, and they've held up really, really well. So I just picked this up. I thought it was a really fun colorway. It's going to be pooling like crazy. And then the last yarn I picked up, I was kind of regretting that I bought so much before because this was a new to me yarn dyer as well, and they had some really, really pretty colorways. So this is what it's called. Wollteam.de. And they had so many fun colorways, you guys. They had a merino base and a sock base, and both of them felt really nice, and I really wanted to get a ton, but like I said, at that point I was kind of all spent out. So I picked up one skein. This is in their merino sock yarn, so it's 80% merino, 20% nylon. And it's looking black here, but this is actually like a dark green. Come on, show up. Can you tell? The lighting isn't great. But I just thought this was a really interesting colorway, and that base feels really, really nice. So I'm going to try this, and I'm very tempted to actually order from them if I do like it, because yeah, I didn't really expect to find this at the show, and the dyer was really lovely as well, and they had some very luxurious like alpaca, angora, cashmere yarn, silk yarns as well. But I just picked this up, and who knows, I really like it. So that is my haul, and sorry, I feel like my focus is not working really well today. But this is what I picked up, all single skeins of sock yarn, which is really, really naughty of me. I would have liked to pick up some sweater quantities instead, but there was no real yarn that I liked for that, so that's why I went with this. But I do like knitting socks, so what's the harm? I love this. And that is pretty much it for today, you guys. In terms of life in general, there's nothing much to talk about besides work. Again, I spent 2 days away traveling for work this week, and it was really, really fun, but also very, very intense and long hours, and I'm so happy it's the weekend now. So I think with that, I'm just going to let you guys go. I am looking forward to hearing from you guys in the Ravelry group, on the YouTube comments. As usual, I love talking to you guys, seeing what you're working on if you're participating in the knit-alongs. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, have a great week. Happy knitting. Bye.